died every St. Patrick's Day. 13 million, that's 3 times the daily average. In Chicago, they dye the river green. In New York, 2 million people line Fifth Avenue for the parade. In Boston, they shut down entire neighborhoods. $6 billion spent in a single day on green beer, shamrock sunglasses, and t-shirts that say, "Kiss me, I'm Irish." It's America's biggest excuse to drink on a weeknight. And nobody thinks about what the holiday actually is. Nobody thinks about where it came from. But before the pub crawls and the green beer, before the parades and the river dye, there were the old stories. The ones the immigrants brought with them when they crossed the Atlantic in coffin ships, packed so tight the living slept next to the dead. They brought their grief, they brought their prayers, and they brought the things that followed them. Tonight, I have 3 stories, 3 cities, 3 people who found out that Irish folklore didn't stay in Ireland. It came to Chicago, it came to Boston, it came to the Bronx, and it's still here. Let's begin. Story 1, The Pub Crawl. The first story comes from Chicago, St. Patrick's Day, 2024. If you've never been to Bridgeport on St. Patty's Day, you're missing something. Bridgeport is the South Side, old Irish Chicago. The kind of neighborhood where the bars have been in the same families longer than most tech companies have existed. Archer Avenue, Halsted Street, neon shamrocks in every window, and the sidewalks wet with rain and spilled beer, and something that might be the river if the wind's blowing right. 4 friends, Marcus, Dev, Jess, and Tomas, were doing a pub crawl. Not just any crawl, a specific one. A route called the Lucky 7 that had gone viral on TikTok a few weeks earlier. The premise was simple: 7 specific bars in a specific order, completed before midnight. Finish all 7 and you get your heart's desire. It was a joke, a meme, the kind of thing that gets 400,000 views because someone put Celtic music over a montage of pint glasses. Nobody took it seriously. Marcus didn't take it seriously either, but he was the one keeping the list on his phone. He was the one making sure they hit each bar in the right order. Not because he believed, because he was the organizer. That's who Marcus was, the one who kept track. Bar 1, Shinnick's on Halsted. Old mahogany back bar, tin ceiling. The smell of decades of spilled whiskey soaked into the wood. They ordered a round. Marcus noticed the bartender. Mid-40s, stocky build, dark hair, chipped front tooth. The kind of face you'd forget by the second drink. Bar 2, a place on Archer with green neon in the window. Different name, different decor, but the bartender, mid-40s, stocky build, dark hair, chipped front tooth. Marcus looked twice, looked again. Same face, same hands, same chip in the same tooth. And on his right hand, a silver ring. The same silver ring the bartender at Shinnick's had been wearing. Doesn't that bartender look exactly like the guy from Shinnick's? Marcus asked. Dev didn't look up from his phone. All bartenders look the same after 2 pints, man. Bar 3. Same bartender, same ring. Bar 4. Same bartender. But the ring was on his left hand now. By now, Marcus was watching. Not drinking. Watching. The others were 4 pints deep and laughing and didn't care. But Marcus saw the bartender's hands. The way he poured. The way he set the glasses down. The way he wiped the bar with the same rag in the same motion at every single stop. Like a loop. Like a recording playing in different rooms. Bar 5. The bartender set Marcus's drink down before he'd ordered. A Jameson, neat. Marcus's drink. The one he always ordered. Here you go, Marcus, the bartender said. Marcus hadn't told him his name. Bar 6. The bartender was already pouring when they walked in. 4 drinks. The right drinks. Marcus's Jameson, Dev's Lager, Jess's Gin and Tonic, Tomas's Guinness. Set out in a row, waiting. You're making good time, the bartender said. That chipped tooth, that same easy smile. 1 more to go. Marcus pulled his friends aside, told them what he was seeing. They laughed. Jess told him to drink more. Tomas told him to drink less. Dev didn't look up from his phone. Bar 7, the last stop. The bar was empty. Not closing time empty. Empty. No customers, no music, no TV above the bar. Just the room, the stools, the bottles lined up behind the counter, and the bartender, standing there, already pouring 4 drinks. Something dark, not beer, not whiskey. It sat in the glasses like liquid earth, thick, almost opaque, and cold. Marcus could see condensation beating on the outside of the glass from across the room. The smell hit him from the doorway. Wet soil, clover, something underneath that he didn't have a name for. You made it, the bartender said. All 7, not many finish. What is this? Marcus asked. What you came for? The bartender pushed a glass toward him. The condensation from the glass left a wet ring on the wood that was too dark, too perfect. Drink it and you get your heart's desire. That was the deal. I didn't make a deal. The bartender tilted his head, just slightly, like a dog hearing a frequency humans can't. You followed the route, you kept the list. You checked off every stop in the right order. That is the deal, Marcus. Marcus didn't drink it. He He set the glass down and backed toward the door. His friends drank theirs. The next morning, Marcus remembered everything. Every bar, every face, every glass of dark liquid his friends drained without hesitation. His friends remembered St. Patrick's Day. They remembered having a great time, but they couldn't recall any details. Not the bars, not the route, not the bartender, not the drink. And they were all different, lighter, happier, like something heavy had been lifted from them, or like something had been taken and they didn't know what it was. Marcus asked Dev what his heart's desire was. Dev looked at him blankly. "What do you mean?" Marcus went back to Bar 7 the following week. It was a laundromat. The woman at the counter said it had been a laundromat for 12 years. He stood on the sidewalk outside. Archer Avenue. Wet pavement, green neon in a window across the street. The smell of the city after rain. Concrete and iron and something older underneath. He still has the list on his phone. 7 bars. He's checked every one. 5 of them are real. 2 of them, bars 5 and 7, have never existed. But the route still gets shared. Every March, it pops up on TikTok. New music, new montage. Same 7 stops. I wonder how many people finish. In Irish folklore, the fair folk and the good people don't force you into anything. That's what makes them dangerous. They offer, they invite, they set the table and wait for you to sit down. The second story is about someone who sat down. Story 2. Noro is 26, marketing coordinator at a healthcare startup. Lived in a 2-bedroom apartment in Southie, South Boston, with a roommate named Claire. The kind of neighborhood where the St. Patrick's Day parade draws 1 million people and shuts down Broadway for an entire afternoon. She matched with Killian on a dating app the Saturday of St. Patrick's Day weekend. His profile was minimal, 3 photos, all slightly blurry. The way pictures look when they've been taken by someone who doesn't quite understand camera phones. His bio said he was visiting from Galway. He worked in restoration. He liked live music and long walks, which Nora would normally have swiped left on, but something about his face made her stop. She couldn't explain it later. She couldn't even describe his face later. Just that it made her stop. They met at a pub on Broadway. The parade had just ended and the streets smelled like spilled beer and wet wool and March cold. Killian was already there, sitting at a corner table, a pint in front of him, watching the door. He was charming, attentive. He asked questions and listened to the answers. He had an accent that made ordinary words sound like they meant more than they did. He laughed easily. He didn't look at his phone. noticed that because every other date she'd been on in the past year had involved a man checking his screen at least 4 times. She brought him home. That part she remembered clearly. The rest got blurry. He was still there in the morning. Nora woke to the smell of breakfast, eggs, toast, coffee, and found Killian in her kitchen, moving through it like he'd lived there for years. He knew which cabinet held the mugs, which drawer had the good spatula. He'd already met Claire, who was eating at the counter and laughing at something he'd said. "He's amazing," Claire whispered when Killian went to the bathroom. "Don't let this one go." He was there the next morning, and the next. By day 4, Nora realized she couldn't remember inviting him to stay. She couldn't point to the conversation where one night became, "He lives here now." It had just happened, seamlessly, the way fog rolls in. You don't see it arrive, and then, suddenly, you can't see anything else. His toothbrush was in her bathroom. She didn't remember buying it. He had a profile on her Netflix. She didn't remember adding it. His jacket hung on the hook by the door, like it had always been there. Then she started noticing what was missing. Killian didn't have a phone, or a wallet, or keys, or a suitcase. The jacket by the door was the only thing he'd arrived with. He never went outside alone. He didn't have a hotel, or friends in Boston, or, when she asked, a return flight. "I'm not going back," he said, smiled. That easy, warm smile. "Where's your stuff?" "I have everything I need here." She asked for his last name. He said it. She picked up her phone to type it into Google, and it was gone. The name dissolved the moment she turned away from him, like a word on the tip of her tongue that evaporated before she could catch it. She tried 3 times, every time the same. He'd say it, and it would be there, and then it wouldn't. Claire thought Nora was losing her mind. "Nora, he made us eggs Benedict this morning, from scratch. He organized the hall closet. He remembers your oat milk. What exactly is the problem here?" Nora went through his jacket on day 6. The inside pocket held a single item, a piece of leather, cracked and dark with age, the size of a playing card. Words were pressed into it in a script she didn't recognize. Old. Very old. She photographed it and sent it to a college friend who'd studied Irish. The translation came back in a text. There was just 3 words too long. "This one is left in place of what was taken. Do not attempt to return it." Nora confronted him that night, held up her phone with the translation on the screen. For the first time, Killian's expression changed. The warmth dropped from his face like a mask being set down. Not ripped off, just calmly removed. The way you take off a coat when you don't need it anymore. His eyes. She realized she'd never noticed their color. She looked now, and couldn't tell. They shifted, green, then gray, then something that wasn't quite either. "You should be grateful," he said. His voice was the same, the accent was the same, but the thing behind it was different. The last one they took was much worse. "I'm the nice option." "What was taken?" Nora asked. He looked at her the way you look at someone who's asked a very simple question. "Check your photos." She opened her phone, scrolled to St. Patrick's Day weekend. The parade photos were there, the pub was there, but Saturday night had a gap. 2 hours missing. No photos, no timestamps, nothing between 10:47 p.m. and 12:52 a.m. And in the photos from Sunday morning, the ones she'd assumed were of Killian, she was in her apartment, smiling, sitting at her kitchen table with a mug of coffee. Across from her sat a man she had never seen before. Not Killian. Someone else entirely. A face she didn't recognize. A person she had no memory of. She looked up. Killian was gone. The jacket was gone. The toothbrush was gone. Claire, in the next room, didn't remember anyone named Killian. But Nora's phone still had his messages. Everyone. And the last message, sent at 3:47 a.m. on St. Patrick's Day, while Nora was asleep or unconscious or wherever she'd been during those missing 2 hours, read, "Accepted. Thank you." Nora still lives in Southie. She deleted the app. She's never matched with anyone since. Not because she's afraid of dating, because every time she opens a dating app, Killian's profile appears. First result. Every time. No matter what filters she sets. 3 photos, slightly blurry. A bio that says he's visiting from Galway. She's never swiped on it again. But it's always there. Waiting. The old Irish knew something about strangers. They had a word for it. For the thing that shows up wearing a familiar shape, that moves into your life like it was always there, that leaves something behind when it goes. They called it a changeling. The word meant exchange. Something given for something taken. The deal was never fair. The third story isn't about a deal. It's about a warning. And what happens when someone ignores it. Story 3. The Wailing on Katonah Avenue. Diego was 24. Content creator. Paranormal investigation channel on YouTube. 85,000 subscribers, which was enough to cover rent if he posted twice a week, and the algorithm was kind. His format was simple. Go to reportedly haunted locations, set up cameras and microphones, film overnight, edit the footage, post. Most episodes were atmosphere and jump scares. The audience didn't care if it was real. They cared if it felt real. For St. Patrick's Day, Diego wanted something different. Irish ghosts. Not Halloween, something older. He found Woodlawn through a Reddit thread. Woodlawn, the Bronx. The last little Ireland in New York City. Katonah. That's Katonah Avenue, where the pubs still have Irish names and the old families still live above the shops. A neighborhood that felt like it had been preserved in amber while the rest of the city changed around it. He reached out to a building owner on Katonah, a man named Kieran, who ran a pub that had been closed for 2 years. The apartment above it was still furnished. Kieran gave Diego the key for the night. "Just don't break anything," he said, "and lock up when you're done." Diego set up 6 microphones and 4 cameras. Standard grid. The apartment was small, 2 rooms, a kitchen, a bathroom, wallpaper peeling, dust on every surface. The building was quiet. The pub below was dark. At 11:47 p.m., every microphone captured the same sound simultaneously. A wail, high-pitched, sustained. The kind of sound that doesn't come from a throat. It bypassed Diego's ears and settled in his sternum, a vibration he felt before he heard. It rose and held and didn't waver. No breath, no break, no human limitation. It went on for 11 seconds. Then it stopped. Diego checked his cameras. Nothing. No movement in the apartment. No movement on the street below. Every visual feed was clean. But the audio. All 6 microphones, positioned in different rooms, had captured the same wail at the same volume, as if the sound had come from everywhere at once. He posted a 60-second clip that night, the raw audio with a waveform visual. Title: I recorded something in an abandoned Irish pub. Woodlawn, the Bronx. It went viral. 2.3 million views in 48 hours. The comment section was what you'd expect. Fake, nice edit, do a full investigation. But a cluster of comments stood out. Accounts with Irish names. No profile pictures. No other activity. All saying variations of the same thing. That's not for you. Take it down. Diego didn't take it down. More views meant more subscribers, meant more revenue. The algorithm was feeding him. He was riding the wave. 3 days later, he got a DM. An older woman named Maeve, 74, born in Woodlawn. She said she knew what he'd recorded. She asked to meet. They sat in a diner on McLean Avenue. Maeve ordered tea and didn't touch it. She looked at Diego the way you look at a child reaching for a hot stove. Not angry, just tired of watching people learn the same lesson. That building, she said, the pub, Padraig Dolan built it in 1923. Came over from Clare with nothing but a suitcase and a debt he couldn't pay in money. She folded her hands on the table, knuckles swollen with arthritis, skin thin as paper. Something followed him, something old, and it never left that building. She told him the wailing came before a death. Not any death, only deaths tied to the building. Someone who lived there, worked there, or been given the key. The sound was a warning, a courtesy, she called it. The old families in Woodlawn knew what it meant. You had the key, Maeve said. You slept in it, recorded in it. That's enough. Diego told her it was a great story. Told her he'd love to feature her in a follow-up video. Maeve's hand shot across the table and locked around his wrist. Her grip was iron, the kind of strength you don't expect from a 74-year-old woman. The kind that comes from somewhere other than muscle. Listen to me. Her voice dropped. The wailing isn't the bad part. The bad part is when it goes quiet. Quiet means she's done looking. Quiet means she's found someone. Diego went back. Of course he did. Better equipment, thermal imaging, a backup battery recorder, upgraded microphones. He set up a live stream. 15,000 viewers. For 3 hours, nothing. Complete silence. Not quiet. Silent. No cars on Katonah Avenue. No dogs. No wind. No ambient noise at all. The kind of silence that has texture. Thick, heavy, like the air itself was holding its breath. His chat filled with messages. Something's wrong. Why is it so quiet? Get out. At 2:14 a.m., the thermal camera captured something in the hallway outside the apartment door. A shape, human-sized, standing still. But the thermal signature was wrong. Not warm, not body temperature. Cold. 12 degrees colder than the surrounding walls. A silhouette of absence, like a hole cut in the heat of the world. Diego's stream cut out. Every device died simultaneously. Cameras, microphones, laptop, phone. The apartment went dark. 4 minutes. He sat in the dark for 4 minutes, listening to nothing. Then the devices came back, one by one, like they were waking up. The hallway was empty. But the backup recorder, the one with the 6-hour battery, the one that ran independently of everything else, had captured something during those 4 dead minutes. Not a wail, a whisper, close to the microphone, close enough to feel breath on the diaphragm. A woman's voice, speaking Irish. The words wet and precise. Each syllable placed like a stone in a wall. Diego sent the audio to a linguistics professor at Fordham. The translation came back in an email 2 days later. Short, the professor didn't add commentary. I have seen your face. I will remember again. I will not be loud. Diego deleted the video, deleted the channel, moved back to his parents' house in New Jersey, told himself it was old building acoustics, told himself it was wind through pipes, told himself the thermal camera was malfunctioning. 6 months later, Kieran, the building owner, the man who'd given Diego the key, died of a heart attack in the pub that had been closed for 2 years. He was 52, healthy, no history of heart problems. He was found sitting at the bar, alone. The lights were off, the doors were locked from the inside. The coroner noted one unusual detail. The expression on Kieran's face wasn't pain. It wasn't surprise. He looked like he'd been listening to something. Diego still has the audio file, backed up on a hard drive he keeps in his parents' garage. He's never played it again. But sometimes, late at night, in his apartment in New Jersey, when the building is very quiet, he swears he can hear it anyway. Faint, distant, like something carried on a wind that doesn't exist. And every year, around mid-March, it gets a little closer. 3 stories, 3 cities. A bartender in Chicago who pours drinks that cost more than money. A stranger in Boston who moved in and took something when he left. A sound in the Bronx that found a face and promised to come back. People think Irish folklore is quaint. Leprechauns and pots of gold and fairy tales for children. But the people who actually came from Ireland, the ones who crossed the ocean with nothing, who built neighborhoods in Chicago and Boston and the Bronx, they didn't tell those stories to entertain their kids. They told them as warnings. The old country sent more than immigrants. It sent the things that followed them. And those things found new homes in American cities, in old buildings, in corner pubs, in viral TikTok challenges that feel like jokes, until you finish all 7 stops and someone behind the bar already knows your name. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Check your dating apps tonight. Pay attention to the bartender. And if you hear something late at night when your apartment is very quiet, something that sounds like it's coming from far away but getting closer, don't listen. Until next time, this is Hollowgrin. Slanja.